we're talking about UFOs, you guys want to hear
Please.
the major one I've experienced?
Yes.
I mean, yes.
No, of course, yeah. Yeah, so my big experience, and I've seen like a couple of like weird things in the sky that I'm like, was that something? But this one was kind of like one of those life-changing moments where you're like, oh, something else is out there. And so it was 1997. My brother had taken me to go see the re-release of Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
Yes.
So, seeing a movie about space aliens, right? Galaxy far, far away. And we're driving back. It's about 9:00 at night. And we're at this point on the road where it's a straightaway for probably about a mile. And there is an airport nearby, but it's not where we're driving, wasn't along the flight path. But eventually the road gets to this tree line and kind of dips down into the woods, down a hill, and empties out into a river valley. And I noticed these 3 lights, 1, 2, 3, in a triangular formation just above the tree line. And I'm like, oh, that's a plane. It's coming in for a landing. It's really low, and it's kind of in the wrong area. And I'm like 13 at the time, so I'm not just like a little kid. And I'm sitting in the back seat of my brother's old Volvo 240, and I'm like, what is this thing? And I keep focusing on it. And so I'm like, is it a light in the car, like a running light on the door that's reflecting for some reason, even though it's like the totally wrong angle for that. And there's no lights on in the car except for my brother's dashboard. And I'm like, okay. So I roll down the window because it's, old school 80s car. Doesn't have the automatic windows like we do these days. And I look out the window. Lights are still there in the sky. And then I notice they're not moving. And I'm like, that's really weird. They're not moving. So this isn't a plane. What the hell is this thing? And I've seen plenty of UFO specials because, early mid 90s, that's like, that was my jam. Like watching all these like specials and documentaries and, In Search of and sightings and stuff on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I think at that point I was aware of the triangle sightings in Belgium that happened in 1990, right? And so I was like, oh God, is this a triangle? What is this thing?
Yeah.
And we're getting closer to it. And this is all over the span of like, I don't know, 2 minutes maybe, because we're going like 35, 40 down this road and it's a mile off. And we finally get to the tree line and this thing is still there. And I could really only see the 3 lights at first, but we went down the bend in the road into the woods and we drove right under this sucker.
Whoa, dude.
And one of the lights was obscured. You could still see the other 2, and it was a pretty clear night and you couldn't see stars in between the lights. So it was one solid object,
right?
The TR3B Black Manta, whatever people call it,
right?
And looking back on it, it's likely one of ours, but it might not have been. I can't say, but
that seems to be
what military or Air Force bases would be out there to house something like that where you're near. Is there anything that would be close by?
The only places, I think at the time there was one in Plattsburgh, New York. There was an airfield there, and at the Burlington International Airport there is also the Air Guard, but they were only housing F-16s at the time. Yeah. And they only had like four hangars. There's no way that they're holding something that size. Right. And once Google Maps came out, or Google Earth rather, I went back and looked at the area where I saw this thing and tried to remember to the best of my ability how far apart the lights were based on, there was a house like right nearby too that was like right on this house's property. And the thing was like the size of a football field. Wow. It was huge. So I don't know what kind of secret programs are going on or if this is, something else, but the size of a 747 at least.